I asked members of my team how they would spend $75 when they go back to Food and Wine Festival, and here is our chat about that. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hi. So we are talking, this is Allison, Felicia, and Heather on the team with me, and we're talking about Food and Wine Festival today because I did not go on the trip this year because I had surgery. And so we are gathered here today to talk about how it went. What's your overall elevator pitch for Food and Wine Festival this year?
It's too hot. You'll be exhausted.
But the food was better.
Yeah, the food was better.
There was less wine at Food and Wine too this year. A lot less wine.
That is so interesting. Maybe they should call it food and beer.
That's what we said, actually.
Yeah. I wouldn't hate that. It's fine. I
Yeah,
love wine, but I have never really enjoyed a lot of the wines at Food and Wine Festival. The beers have been better. I guess it being better is good if you're going to be out there in the heat.
Yes.
And doing all the things. I think it's super helpful for the people that do want to go, narrow it down to what we think is good, or maybe even more importantly, avoid the things we know are bad. So in that spirit, I asked you all to pretend you're going back and spending $75, which I think is a reasonable budget, don't you think, for a person?
Yes.
Just going for a day and pick what you would buy with that $75. And this is interesting to me more than just what are your favorite things? Because it forces you to choose what is worth it within that $75. So that means that you like it and it's like a decent portion and, all of that. So I think it's telling what you would spend your own money on. So Allison, would you like to start?
I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat or seafood. I do eat dairy here and there, so I'm not completely vegan. But a lot of the plant-based items are obviously on my list.
So what would you fit in your $75?
Okay. I actually have 50 cents to spare. $74.50.
Ooh, she's a frugal gal.
Surprisingly, I would go back to Brew-Wing, not for the pickle milkshake. Nobody waste your money on that. I would go back for the Impossible Buffalo chicken tenders that come with plant-based blue cheese and plant-based ranch. This is a new item this year. You get a ton for $7.50. They're really good. This actually was a group favorite.
Okay, I was going to ask everybody else if they also enjoyed.
Yeah, and they are a little on the spicy side, but I usually don't handle spice or heat well, but these were fine for me. And you get, like I said, you get a lot for your money, and they aren't messy, so you don't have to worry about picking them up. You can use a fork and a knife because there aren't any bones. I really enjoyed these. I think it's a great option.
I love that. The name of the food booth, Brew-Wing, would not make me think they had options for you because it's always just been chicken wings.
Yeah. I was glad that they added it this year because I was hoping, because last year they only added plant-based Brussels sprouts, which are also back this year. And I like those, but I would rather go back for the plant-based chicken tenders. And then at this booth, I also would get a 6 ounce of the Brew Hub French Connection IPA. It was probably my favorite IPA at the whole festival, and that's only $5.50. You can also get a 12 ounce for, I think it's $9.50. So those would be my 2 items at that booth. And I think they pair well together.
And if you're lucky enough, you can sit inside and eat them.
Yes.
If there's
it's a very busy booth.
Very busy.
Be prepared.
Rope drop it.
Rope drop it.
It's busy because of the pickle milkshake.
Yeah, and I also don't know. We were there for the very first day, so I don't know if it will always be that busy, but I think that was the main thing people were going for when we were there. Next would be Flavors from Fire. They have the Impossible Burger Slider that comes with wasabi, cream, and spicy slaw, and a sesame seed bun. That's also plant-based. It's a returning item. It's one of my favorites, and it's only $6, and I think it's pretty filling. And it's nice to have it at that booth because there aren't anything else that I can eat there besides the dessert.
Okay.
Next would be the Fry Basket, which is actually near Flavors from Fire. Now, I have 2 options here. They both cost $5.50. I feel like this would be how I would feel in the moment. Would I want the new pickle fries because they were really good? And those are not plant-based. Or do I want the Adobo Yuca, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, fries with the Garlic-Cilantro Aïoli. And that is a returning item. So I like both of those. The plant-based fries, you get a ton for your money. So that's like a nice little snip. But both are really good, in my opinion. Then the grease booth, which is overall just a really good booth in general. Like, you can't go wrong there. Except I did not choose the plant-based item that is new there this year. I was very sad I did not like it. As Heather and Felicia described it, it tastes like Christmas. It's a very interesting flavor.
What was it?
It's a impossible mousse. Is it moussaka?
Moussaka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to love it, but I
And it
just
tastes like Christmas.
it's an interesting the seasoning's interesting. I don't know. But what I would get is the Spanakopita, which is only $4.75. And this is a returning item. And I also do love the grilled cheese, but the Spanakopita just hit different this year for me. It's nice and flaky and it's filled with cheese and spinach and it's just really good.
Sounds good.
And then at Flavors of America, which is obviously in the America Pavilion, last year or the past few years, this was the hops and barley booth. They have some new items, but the item I chose is a returning item. It's the carrot cake. And I think it's a good size for only $4.50. It might be a little too heavy for some people on a hot day, and the cream cheese icing does melt pretty fast, but it's still so good. I think it's one of the best desserts at the festival.
I do think that has to be a heavy factor
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah.
the heat. Not
Right.
everything tastes good when you're in 100-degree heat.
Yeah, I agree. We found
And
that a lot with a lot of the
just
items. And then the India booth, which this is another just good booth in general. Everything was really good there. They have a plant-based potato and pea samosa with coriander lime cream. And this is another returning item. And it's $5.50. And last year I found them too spicy, but this year I didn't. And it's just a really good item. And they're decent. You get 2 samosas and they're decent size. And I think it's just a really good item.
is that over by Refreshment Outpost?
Outpost, yeah. So
Okay.
between China and the Outpost.
All right.
And then in Japan, they have the Brew Hub Momo Amber Ale. And this was probably one of the best beers. I think we can all agree. This is probably one of the best beers we had. I think we were all shocked how good it was. And you can get a 6-ounce or a 12-ounce. And it's just, I can't describe it. I definitely recommend it. It's really good.
Was that new?
Yes, it was new this year.
Okay, so that's why you're surprised
Mhm.
you had never had.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the one thing you definitely should get at the Japan booth. And then at Refreshment Outpost, this is where you can get full-size alcoholic beverages. Like, you can't get like a 6-ounce or a 12-ounce. You have to get the full size. And they are a little bit more expensive. So they're $11.25. And all 3 are actually really good. But I would go back for the Cider Boys Mango Tango Hard Cider. I thought it was really refreshing. It was just so hot that day. And it just had a really good flavor. So
We have really good luck at that location.
Mhm.
Like the big beers and the food options
yeah,
are
they're
often
usually pretty
good.
good.
It's not too expensive for what it is and like pretty high quality. I do
Mhm.
wonder if people know that is part of Food and Wine Festival because it's not like a kiosk looking
Right.
thing like most of them. It's always there. It's just that they have festival things that rotate out. But
Mhm.
I just think I'm mentioning it because I just think as a general rule, people should consider stopping there no matter
Yeah.
when they go.
And there is a really good plant-based option there too, which I like every year. It's the spicy gatheri, and I think it's only $5, and you get a really great portion. They're like, as much as I like it, I would go back for the other food that I've mentioned over that. But it's still a really good choice if people are looking for another plant-based item.
Okay.
And then at Spain, I would get, this is new this year, they have a sangria flight, and you get a white, a red, and a rose. It was so good. It was just like, it comes with ice. So like, it didn't water it down too much, but it was just like nice and cold and refreshing. And the red was probably my least favorite, but I still loved all of them. And I'm not like a wine or sangria person usually. And you can also just get individual glasses of these two. You don't
Mhm.
have to get the flight, which is nice.
So you
But
would
it
get
was-
the whole flight because you
I would
liked
get
them
the whole
all.
flight because I liked them all. I thought
Okay.
that it was just really good.
That sounds delicious.
And then finally, I love how these last few are just all drinks. Finally, I would go to Brazil, not for the cheese bread, which I still recommend everybody avoiding at all costs there because it's gummy and it's gross. I don't care what anybody else says. I would go back for, I think I'm saying this correctly, the Xingu Brazilian Black Lager. I'm not normally a dark beer person, but I first had this when I lived in LA. And I fell in love with it then, and I could never get it anywhere. And I think they only just added it recently, maybe last year to the festival. And I'm so glad that they brought it back because it's a really nice, light, dark lager, and it's just really good flavor. And you can get that in a 6-ounce or a 12-ounce as well.
That sounds like a good list. Like, I would feel good about having all those different options because, like, I was visualizing as you were talking. I'm like, they're all over. So you could meander, get a drink, meander, get another
Right.
one, get another snack or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have plenty of options for you.
Yeah, which makes me happy. So
Yeah, that's a good list. I like it. So, did anything on her list make your list, Heather and Felicia? Both.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
going to be a big endorsement to
Yes.
have multiple people include them on their list. All right, Felicia, would you like to go next with your picks?
I have 6 different food items and then 4 different drink items. And I apparently didn't choose any desserts.
You're a savory person.
Yeah. And I will start with the fry basket. There is only one item that I would have gone back there for, and it's the pickle fries is what they're called, but they're really just fried pickle spears. I'm a huge fan of those, and I thought that they were well done at the fry basket. The only thing I don't like is that booth has a long line a lot. It usually moves pretty quickly, but sometimes you can be stuck waiting for your items because they are frying stuff fresh. But it's only $5.50 for the pickle fries, and I loved them. So that would be my first food item. And then flavors from Fire, there is the smoked corned beef with house-made potato chips, cheese curds, pickled onions, and beer cheese fondue. It is so good. They've had this at Flavors from Fire, and I think at some other booth before Flavors from Fire in the past few years. And every year, it's so delicious. I know Heather really likes it as well. I would happily eat that as a meal. So that was one. And that one's only $6.50. So it's a huge portion. It's like a whole boat of chips with a ton of corned beef and toppings. Super good. Brew-Wing, I have an item there. I really liked the Impossible tenders. I didn't expect to like them. I just thought the texture would be off-putting because they were pretty big, like thick tenders, but it wasn't. But I still like the Brussels sprouts more. So if I was going to go back there, I was going to get the Brussels sprouts. So those are $5. They're plant-based, served with buffalo, plant-based blue cheese, and ranch. And so it's a nice big portion, savory item. I didn't personally care for many of the beers or ciders there, and I didn't like eating the wings with bones. So those are my first 3 food items. And then working around World Showcase. The next stop would be India. And so, like Ali said, that was a great booth. Honestly, pretty much everything there is delicious. All the food items are great. Drink items, not for everyone, but I recognize everything was of good quality and a good price. So I would choose the chicken tikka masala there. It's a huge portion. It's a bowl. It has rice, the chicken masala on top, naan bread, and it's only $6.25. That would be legitimately an entire meal for me. And it's super spicy. So if you're not a fan of spicy items, it's probably not for you, but I loved it. And like I said, only $6.25. Great deal. And then next door at Refreshment Outpost, I also would get one of the full-size beers there. I'm not a cider fan. I thought the mango cider was good. Still too sweet for me. But they had a watermelon hibiscus lager. That was my favorite beer there. It was light, refreshing. You could taste the watermelon, but it wasn't overpowering and super fruity. So I loved it, and it would have gone perfectly with the chicken tikka masala. And they're right next door. So I probably would pair those and eat those at the same time. And then further around at Spain, just like Allie, I would get the sangria flight because I took into account like cost and other drink items available at the festival. And I could get basically 2 different small beers or 2 other drinks somewhere else, but I would choose the 3 sangrias in the flight just because they were good. They were strong without being overpowering. Like Ali said, iced, not too fruity. It didn't taste like box sangria. Like they were just really good. So I'd get that there. And then also the charcuterie. And so that's just different meats and cheeses with and olives and like herb vinaigrette. Super good. And that's $6.50. And so it's enjoyable because it is a charcuterie, but you eat it with a fork. So you don't have to use your fingers and get your fingers dirty. And it pairs well with the sangria. So really liked both of those items and would happily go back for those.
And you might very soon.
Yes, I do plan to. This is not necessarily just theoretical.
Okay, all of you, this is real. Okay.
Yes, yeah. And then at the Flavors of America booth, I would actually get the whole beer flight there. So that one has a lager, an IPA, and I don't remember now what the
Amber
third.
ale. I think it was
And
an
the amber. Yeah, the sawtooth amber. And so 3 pretty different types of beer, but they're all very good. Like the lager's very light and easy to drink. The IPA is a little hoppy, but not too strong. And then the amber is also really easy to drink. So all perfect, especially in the weather. A good deal. For a 6-ounce beer, it's $5.50, but for the whole flight, it's $10. And so I like the variety and the options there. And then Tangerine Cafe, another solid booth where every food item is good. All the drinks mostly are good. Maybe not the fig cocktail. I would get the stone baked Moroccan bread. So it's vegetarian. I don't know that it's plant-based, but it's just a giant piece of bread with 3 different sauces, and they're all super delicious. And it's only $5. And so big fan of that one. And so I have $6 left at this point, and I was down between 2 items. One was the Zingu Brazilian Black Lager, and then the other is the Brew Hub Momo that's at Japan. So both of those are things that Allie referenced. I think between the 2, I would go for the one at Japan just because I loved it. But I was putting the other one on here in case both Allie and Heather chose the Brew Hub Momo because I didn't want all of us to have the same thing necessarily. But honestly, if it was up to me, I would go back to Japan and get that amber ale. It doesn't taste like an amber ale. It's very confusing. It's not at all what was expected, but it is delicious. At Mexico, I wanted to include the taco that was there, but I couldn't justify for one little taco and $8 out of my budget. And then I also considered the frozen rosé at the Alps, which is $9. I didn't want to spend that amount of money on it personally, but if you want like a frozen slushy item, at France they have the frozen slushy that's $15, or they have the frozen rosé at the Alps for $9. I think the Alps frozen rosé is a good substitute if you want something like what they offer in France, but not spending $15 on a similarly sized item. So that would be my suggestion.
That's
if
a
you're
good
into
thought.
that sort of thing.
So you like the things, they just were hard to justify within your $75.
Yes, I didn't like them enough to pay that amount.
Yeah.
Even though it was a couple dollars more than other items.
Yeah.
It adds up.
That is good to know. Heather, is there anything on your list that they haven't mentioned?
There's a couple, but really, my list is very similar. Also, I did not like having a budget. I just wanted it all. I'm going to go ahead and complete the trifecta. I, too, have the Brew Hub Momo Amber Ale from Japan because it was our very last booth that we were there for. One of the last things we tried, and I'm glad we ended with it because it was amazing. So everybody, Felicia and Allison have already talked about it. So you know how good it is, but definitely would do that. Over at Flavors from Fire, and again, these are in any order. This was just me randomly looking back at menus and having my mouth water. And that was my indication that I needed to go ahead and eat it again. So Flavors from Fire, the smoked corned beef with house-made potato chips. I think it was on Felicia's list too. But it's amazing and I love it. It's delicious and also only $6.50 and it's a pretty good sized portion. So I think that's a good deal. I think the only negative that I have for it is that it can get a little soggy because of the chips and the sauces and stuff on top. But other than that, it's delicious. And then over at Refreshment Port, the braised beef poutine. I absolutely love it. And I know it's expensive, but you get full-size portions at both the Refreshment Port and over at Outpost for like your serving sizes are big. So the braised beef poutine is $10. But then also there, I really love the orange whipped hard seltzer from Boulevard Brewing. I think it was delicious. And I don't know if it was because at that point I was just so hot and having something light and refreshing that had good flavor was just absolutely necessary for me to continue going. But I would definitely get it again.
I feel like they could charge $58 for poutine and you'd be like,
yeah,
I'm fitting that in my budget.
That's absolutely would. It would have been my only item had it been. That's fine. I will just keep buying the same thing over and over. So definitely, but that poutine, it has like the cheese in it and it's like really creamy and good. It's not like a cheese curd. Are there cheese curds in there, Felicia? Or is it only just the...
I don't think so.
It's just... creamy cheese.
Yes, I
with
think.
with the beef juice.
Hmm.
So gravy. I'm sorry, beef gravy.
Yes, there is a word for that.
I agree with Felicia that Mexico's prices are a little steep, but I really was disappointed in Mexico last year, and I really like the tostada this year. So the tostada made my list. It's a tostada de carnitas with braised pork on a fried corn tortilla with black beans and avocado. And I just thought it was one item, but it was a decent size. And it was really delicious. It had really good flavor in it. I liked it personally better than the taco that Felicia mentioned. So we've left Mexico. Now we're over in Spain. I would get the full size white sangria.
Okay, so sangria, but full size.
Mhm. Yes. And I don't even think it's a full size. I think it's still a smaller size. Like it's not like the big giant cups. But I really like the white one. I like the rosé one. I like the red one the least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So maybe after I spent my first $75, I'd find somebody to give me money and I'd go back and I'd get the rosé one too.
you're out there with you're panhandling
Panhandling
at
to
Epcot.
to get more sangria.
Mm-hmm.
But I too would get the sangria and then the charcuterie. I don't know why that's so good. It's nothing fancy. It's literally meat in a cup with a couple olives, but it's a huge portion size and it's not heavy and refreshing. And it just goes really well with that sangria. So
I think you just explained why you like it so much.
thank you.
It's portable, enough to eat,
Portable.
refreshing, delicious.
You get protein, all those important things. And then in India, I think this was on Allison's list, the potato and pea samosa. Really love that. But like what Felicia said, India, never a long line. Their prices are very reasonable and their food is really good.
One of my personal passions with the festival is booths that are good. And it sounds like, based on things that you guys have said so far, there are a few that definitely stand out. Because it's like, if you're going to stand in line, it's so nice to be able to get at least a couple things.
Yes.
Instead of just one thing, eat 4 bites, go to the next booth. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It just feels like a good use of time.
Agreed. Especially when it's so hot. You don't want to stand in 29 lines. It'd be a lot easier to pick a few and get several really good things there.
Mm-hmm.
Over in Tangerine Cafe, I am not a huge cider person, but I really liked the party peach and blackberry hard cider there. I thought that was very delicious, very refreshing. Didn't really taste too much like a cider, which is an endorsement for me. So I would grab that. And then I don't know why I love griddled cheese, but I love griddled cheese.
You do.
I am a huge fan of just hunks of cheese that have been griddled in any form. So the griddled cheese makes my list. And if I got this like this, then I wouldn't have to share it. That's the best part. It would just be me. I'd just be eating it. And then finally, the Left Hand Brewing Sawtooth Amber Ale at Flavors of America. The flight was delicious, but I really like that one in particular.
That sounds all really good to me. But there's a couple booths that I didn't hear mentioned that I would love to talk about. One is France.
France.
France is popular.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that we often rope drop it, right? To be there. Like literally as soon as the festival opens, we're there because the lines grow. Mm-hmm. Nothing mentioned from France, I don't think.
No.
Just negatives.
We again did rope drop it, which we were glad we did because the line grew quickly. It's just, it's not as good as everyone says. And I don't know if it's just this particular festival. I did the 3 cheese beignet that they always have there. I think we put as one of our favorite items from the booth, but I also wouldn't go stand in line for it when I could go get all these other things that were exponentially better. And like we said, the slushy, we usually like them and we're always like, okay, but no, you're going to spend a little bit more. But this one was like
Artificial.
super sweet, artificial. It was new this year. It melts so fast. And like $15, I just think it's a ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general, the booths that are super popular, like France, Italy, even China to a degree, they're generally very overpriced and the quality just isn't there. And I don't know if it's because they're having to churn out so much food so quickly, but it's just, almost never well executed.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, that was going to be my next thing was Italy, because historically it has usually been our least favorite booth in terms of quality and price. Like it's the most expensive, but it's the worst. This year, not quite that bad, but also you didn't mention it as your favorite.
No, the bar was really low, so they didn't have to do much to get off the ground. I think one of our things that really bother us is they don't tell you where the alcohol is from. You don't
Say
get it.
Prosecco or
Yes, it's just generic. And that to me really irks me because how can you review something if you don't know if it's going to be the same? What are they going to open tomorrow?
right.
It's
It's,
going to be
it's their house, whatever they have available.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But also it's expensive.
It is.
And like one of the things I like that you guys did when you were posting reviews on Instagram was the overall cost of each booth, which is not something we've ever posted before. And it really makes that booth especially stand out because it's look how much more it is than all the other ones.
Yes.
And that is, it's not worth it. Skip Italy. I feel like it's a shoe-in for a lot of people. They're like, how could you go wrong with Italy? But it's not good.
No, that whole pocket over there, like Germany, the Alps, Italy, I feel like people just swarm there and it gets really crowded and really busy. And also, I don't think there's any walk that's more hot than from Germany to America. I think that is just the most brutal walk. And so I just avoid that whole area. Just skip it, at least when it comes to purchasing things.
Just get your stuff in India and drink it while walking through to a better area.
Yes. Yes. If you can find some extra money, like if somebody gave you $5, $6 more, maybe go ahead and get the fondue, the chocolate fondue from the Alps, because that was really good too. But if you can't get any more money, then just keep walking.
I have a sign up. Here's my Venmo.
Put it on the back of my shirt.
Can any of you guys remember the overall total of the whole festival? Like what it cost to eat and drink everything?
I think it was like $1,145.
$1,145.51.
Yeah. So that makes sense. I think we usually budget $1,200 for festivals. I think Flower and Garden and Food and Wine at least. And that tends to work out about right because we also pick up waters and
Okay,
things
so
along
it was
the way.
$1,145 and Italy was $104.
Yep.
And there
Out
were
of and
28 booths.
28 booths.
that is a very interesting step. And there's a lot of variables in there too, because some have more items than others or whatever. But Italy is just wildly expensive for all their things.
Mhm.
So,
And keep in mind that there are still the 6 booths that we haven't had yet.
yeah,
Those will be later.
they'll be open later. So there'll be even more for people going in, what is it, late September through November, mid-November, something like that.
Mhm.
Okay. That is all very helpful. I'm hoping I can fit in a trip and I'll be taking your guys' suggestions. So thanks for doing the hard work with one person gone. You did it.
We did.
Yay. All right. Thanks, guys.
I hope you found that chat and those suggestions helpful. If you would like the text written version of the things that were mentioned, it is listed down below. If you have any questions or any of your own favorites to add to the list, feel free to do that in the comments. Thanks for watching.